Good morning, beloveds. Foster's in here. When I got up this morning, I didn't see him. I didn't see him until I came back from the bike ride. So he's like, no, I'm not interested in breakfast. So, and then the old man, Hayes, came down for breakfast, but I went and did his ear meds, and he raised his head a little bit and then didn't move. So he has not gotten second breakfast. He's an old man. He can do what he likes. He is currently asleep on a pillow in a window, getting a little bit of sun. All right. It is October 11th. Our title is "There's Nothing in My World But the Life and Love of God." And our quote is, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world, and they shall dwell therein." You know, sometimes I read these Bible quotes and I'm like, what? This is Psalm 24:1. I'm not awake this morning, clearly. Our world offers us the opportunity to cooperate with it on a spiritual basis or to argue with it on a material basis. If we do the first, we have an abundant life with great peace. If we resist and argue with circumstances, we find out troubles heap themselves upon us in even greater measure. The Bible states that man has dominion over his world if and when he assumes it from a spiritual premise. It also states that the world is a spiritual organism. Putting these statements together, we have the key. The consciousness can always control the subconscious. Therefore, we can control the conditions of our world when we see it as the creation of God mind. If God created it, then his life and love must dwell in it. This we believe, and for this we look on every side. We agree with life and with love. We expect these qualities of spirit to be in our present environment and experience. There is nothing in my world but the life and love of God. I refuse to believe otherwise. I live this day abundantly and lovingly, for I accept and express God's life and love. Wherever I go and whatever I do, I am surrounded, upheld, and maintained by this perfect good. I behold in every situation, every person, and every place I go. I behold good in every situation, every person, and every place I go. I walk in God's presence upon God's world and meet and greet my fellow man as God's beloved creation. I expect more life and more love to be mine today than I have ever known before. My body is filled with perfect life. My world is filled with perfect love. I declare this. I believe this. And I know this is true right here and right now. All right. So, I mean that first statement, that first sentence. Our world offers us the opportunity to cooperate with it on a spiritual basis or to argue with it on a material basis. Where is your focus? Where is your focus? Now, the truth is we have to do both. We have to do both. We must, to a degree, focus on the material world because we are currently using a material vehicle to get around in a material world to have a spiritual life. Bit of an oxymoron, I get it. So some of our attention is going to have to go on the material world. But then the question becomes, as he stated in here, are we arguing with the material world? And I know a lot of people that do. Argue with the material world. And I'm like, and I think that's kind of what Jesse was talking about yesterday. And we talk about it fairly frequently, is where's your attention going? When you are focused on a problem, then you are arguing with the material world. If you are focused on a solution, You still may be arguing with the material world. But in that case, because you're focused on the material, you're focused on a solution, you're not necessarily arguing with the material world. You might be cooperating with it. But I would suggest if you're focused on a solution, then you're focused on the spiritual world. So that's where we are. It's like, do we cooperate with the spiritual nature, our spiritual nature? Do we align with the qualities of God? And I've listed them before, and I change them. I change them because I forget them. Because there's a bunch of them. But goodness, peace, love, harmony, joy. Today he's focused on living and loving. So really, I mean, there it is. It's kind of in black and white. It's like, are you cooperating with the spiritual world, or are you arguing with the material? So, and have you noticed that when your bent is a little bit more towards the material, it's like you just kind of, you lose, not lose, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Let me think about it and I'll come back to it. I would say you lose focus, or maybe you get too focused. I think that may be what it is. When we focus on the material world, we get very narrow, we get very narrow-minded. We get very tunnel vision. It's like this, I'm only doing, and then we forget this wider spiritual world. We forget this connection that we have. We forget that we are, brothers and sisters, and that we are one with nature, and that we actually do fit into this natural cycle that's going on around us. We don't really have fall here. Like, we don't get those beautiful color changes. Our leaves typically just dry up and fall off, which is the definition of fall. But, so here, because it goes from hot to not hot, and then back to hot, we forget that there's a natural cycle to the world. And the further we get away from farming, I think if we live in the city, we lose that. I mean, I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up on military bases. But fortunately, I had relatives that did have farms. And so I got to see a little bit of that. But, I've not done the planting to the growing to the harvesting. I've not done the with the animals or any of that. And so I have to make an effort to focus on that natural cycle and how it connects to a greater spiritual world. It's an effort I'm willing to make. So, when we focus on our problems, we multiply them. When we focus on our solutions, or when we focus on the qualities of God, our problems kind of naturally work themselves out. And I say that, but what I mean is we're guided to solutions. Because we are open and willing, then the solutions kind of just present themselves to us, and we just kind of naturally follow. So it doesn't feel like we're having to do, we're not having to do the kind of work that we thought we would have to do to solve something, because we were open to guidance. All right. There is nothing in my world but the life and love of God. And again, the Bible quotes. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they shall dwell therein. Go back and read the Psalm. It's Psalm 24. Read the whole thing. Sometimes when you get a quote that does not make sense, because it's been taken out of context, go put it in context and read it in context. That's the best advice I ever got from Reverend Norm in dealing with the Bible. It's like, don't take it out of context. Go read it in context. Why are you chewing on me? Straight up, just chewing on me. All right, it's Kat. What do you want? Our world offers us the opportunity to cooperate with it on a spiritual basis or to argue with it on a material basis. Kind of covered that. If we do the first, we have an abundant life with great peace because we are aligned with the qualities of God, because we are focused on solutions, because we are focused on peace and love and harmony and joy. And it doesn't mean that hard times don't happen, and it doesn't mean that sadness doesn't happen. It means that when it happens, we have a bank to draw on to get through, and then we have support to draw on to get through. If we resist and argue with the circumstances, we find our troubles heap themselves upon us in even greater measure. And that's about where your attention goes, your power goes. So if you're focused on problems, you're going to find more problems. And if you're focused on solutions, then you're going to be guided. You're going to be guided. The Bible states that man has dominion over his world if and when he assumes it in a spiritual premise. I'd like to go back and find that. So, because in Genesis, humanity is granted dominion over the world. One of the things you want to remember, though, is one of the things that dominion means is stewardship. We are granted stewardship, which means we don't have control over, but we are responsible for managing. And managing well. And to do that, to manage well, then we want to put it in a spiritual premise. We want to remember that God is love. And if we manage with love, and love is not doormat. Love does not mean that we let people walk all over us. Love means that we take care of and do the best for everything and every living creature. So that's dominion. Dominion is it's the spiritual responsibility. It also states that the world is a spiritual organism. The earth is one living organism, and each and every one of us is part of that organism. And each and every one of us, every living thing, is important to that organism. And that's why we talk about social responsibility and social justice and all of that. Because we are all, our well-being is connected. And that's what it means to be a spiritual organism. Our well-being is connected. Putting these two statements together, we have the key. The consciousness can always control the subconsciousness. It always can. The question is, do we? Therefore, we can control the conditions of our world when we see it as a creation of the God mind. We can control the conditions. Sometimes the only choice we have is how we feel about a situation. And if we choose to feel like we are helpless, then we are. And if we choose to feel like we have access to the guidance to get out of a situation, then we do. And so that's the beginning. That's the beginning. If God created it, then God's life and love must dwell in it. God didn't create this world, set it, and turn God's back on it. That's not what happened. God is still present because it's one whole system. There's nothing outside of God. Nothing outside of God. This we believe. For this we look on every side. We agree with life and with love. We expect these qualities of spirit to be in our present environment and experience. So if we expect these qualities of spirit, then we look for them. And when we look for them, we find them. So that really is what it is about. Look for the good. Expect to find it, and you will. Even in those non-preferred situations, you will find good. Because sometimes it's good people caught in a situation, and sometimes it's when we focus on the solution, interesting things happen and new things are created. New things are created. So There is nothing in my world but the life and love of God. All right. If you can wake up every morning and say that, can you imagine how your life would change? I refuse to believe otherwise. I live this day abundantly and lovingly, for I can accept and express God's life and love. So there it is. I accept and express God's life and love. I know that the life that I live is God's life, and that the love that I love is God's love. And both of those are inexhaustible. The material vehicle that I'm using may be exhaustible, but I'm not, because I'm a part of something bigger. At some point, it's going to change. This form will change, but who I am won't. Who you are won't. So live and love bigly like God does. I would also say live responsibly like God does, because look at nature. Nature's responsible. Nature's thrifty and doesn't waste nothing. But still, nature lives lavishly. Wherever I go and whatever I do, I am surrounded, upheld, and maintained by this perfect good, because I know who I am. So I encourage you to know who you are. I behold good in every situation, every person, and every place I go. All right. So now that's a statement. I behold good in every situation, every person, and every place I go. This was written by a man. I am a woman. I can behold good in every situation and in every person and every place I go. But if I'm not safe, I don't have to stay. And if I know I'm not going to be safe, I'm not going to go. So I can behold good from over here. All right. That is one thing that it is super important for me to tell you. I do not want any spiritual abuse, any religious abuse. I do not want the message coming across that we have to put ourselves in harm's way to see good. All right? Never, never, never. Because we can see it from over here. We can know it from a distance. God will never ask us to put ourselves in harm's way for petty purposes. Okay? If there's a situation that would harm you, don't walk into it. All right? Not for religious, spiritual reasons. Now, there are, yeah. All right. There are too many times that women have put themselves in situations for spiritual reasons that they didn't have to be in. And I don't ever want that message to come from my mouth. All right? You are a beloved child of God, and you deserve to be well taken care of, well loved. And if you are not being, then please remove yourself from the situation. Don't stay because it's your duty. Because it's not. You're a beloved child of God, and your duty is to take care of yourself and to take care of, the people that depend on you. And you can't do that if you're not safe. So, I behold good in every situation, every person, and every place I go. All right? We walk into all kinds of messes, just on a general level. And so the goal is to look for the good. The goal is to look for the good and to tease that out. And occasionally we have to do that from a safe place. So I just want you to hear me on that. I walk in God's presence, in God's world, and meet my fellow human as God's beloved creation. You will never look in the eyes of someone that God does not love. That includes your own eyes. One of the things that I'm a big proponent of is to go look in the mirror, look in your eyes, and tell yourself that you are a beloved child of God, and to believe it. Because when you believe that you are a beloved child of God, there's a whole lot that you're not going to put up with anymore. All right? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not asking you not to do what you need to do. I'm asking you to recognize that you are a beloved child of God. Everybody in the situation is a beloved child of God, and to do what's best for everybody in the situation. And don't sacrifice yourself. I expect more life and more love to be mine today than I have ever known before. State it, claim it, be it. My body is filled with the perfect life. My world is filled with the perfect love. This is what I'm going to focus on. Is messiness going to come? Yes, it happens. But I'm not going to focus on the messiness. That's where literally we can focus on what Jesus says, turn the other cheek. I'm going to focus on the good. I'm going to focus on the good. Yes, I'm going to deal with the messy, but I'm going to focus on the good. And sometimes I'm just going to walk away from the messy and go, not my mess. And sometimes I'm going to go, I can see where I can help here. Okay? So, my body is filled with perfect life. My world is filled with the perfect love. I declare this. I believe this. And I know this is true right here, right now. Focus on the good. When you focus on the good, the messy will sort itself out. You will be guided into the right actions to take for all involved. All right? It is kind of the way this works. So, what is our mission today? I would say that our mission today is to cooperate with the world on a spiritual basis and to cease to argue with it on a material basis. Love that first line. Don't argue with the material. Don't argue with the material. Overlay it with the spiritual network. See what the spiritual answer is, and the material will take care of itself. All right, beloveds, I'm going to move into the process of my day. I have a cat that may want second breakfast now. We'll go find out. But I'm also going to encourage you to do what you need. No, hang on. I'm going to encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever it looks like. Be it big, be it small. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you take a loving, kind, compassionate view of yourself. Do something for yourself, because practice makes permanent, and you deserve your own love, your own kindness, your own compassion. It's very important. It's very important that you do that. It also helps you create a bank so that when you meet people that need a little extra, you have some to spare. All right? You are a beloved child of God. Absolutely. Absolutely. There was something else. I do encourage you to engage your mind and your body, whatever that looks like. I had a fantastic bike ride today. My knee is doing much better, so I'm hoping to go for a walk tomorrow because I've got some great new music that I want to listen to. So go get a face full of sun. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I know the storms moved through pretty early this morning, so I was hoping it'd cool down a little bit more, but yeah, well, I know where I live. Please drink plenty of water. Please drink plenty of water. And open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you you do live in heaven right here, right now. It is all around you. All around you. It merely awaits your recognition of it. So look for the good and praise it. Look for the good and praise it. Because when you look for the good, you find the good, and it naturally multiplies itself. And you are truly amazing. All right, beloveds. It's Monday night. That means that there's a book study. I believe it starts at 6 Central Time. It is East Coast. So if you're interested in that or anything else that might be going on this week, please email info@creativelife.org. Get on that mailing list. That'll show you all the things. And it comes with hot links so that you can request. Like that, the book studies are typically done on Zoom. There's a prayer circle on Thursday that's done on Telebridge. So, you can get all that information. All right. And then check us out on the social medias. I am the running Rev Ryan, and we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Or if you catch us on Instagram or TikTok, we are Creative Life Spark. All right. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. and Reverend David should see you around 5 p.m. today. Know that you're loved. Know that you're loved. And I'll see you next time.